You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Dr. Jerome Corsi, and it's Thursday, October 23rd. You can see I'm still traveling. I will be all week. I want to cover a couple stories. Importantly, I have an article up in American Thinker I want to cover. And then there are some critical things going on with the economy. We're crashing through new barriers of debt at an alarming rate. And that doesn't spell well for the dollar. Now, first on the article I published today on American Thinker, which I think is a very important article. I've been working on this one for some time. I'm saying that Trump can force an endgame in the war between Ukraine and Russia. Okay, so Trump backed out of a meeting in Budapest after Putin insisted that he was not going to give up part of this region of the Donbas, which is in south. It's in the kind of a industrial region, the two provinces on the east of Ukraine, closest to Russia, the two Russian-speaking provinces. And it's been heavily fought over for centuries because it's a good industrial area. And it's a good area for manufacturing. It's a good area for living. It's a good area in general for, favorable characteristics that the people who live there, which means that literally for centuries, Russia and Ukraine have fought over who controls the Donbas. Okay, so Trump is saying that he doesn't control it all today, but he's not going to have a ceasefire until he gets a major portion, almost all of the Donbas, including some of these key cities, that are in the Donbas. And so what happened over the past week was that we had General Kellogg, who on September 29th was saying that Trump had authorized NATO members to deploy non-NATO Ukraine offensive missiles that the United States provided deep into Russia. Now, Kellogg has been a warmonger on the war from the very beginning. General Kellogg kind of views this as the 1938 test in Munich, as whether Europe was going to contain Hitler, and they appeased Hitler and did no good. So they're saying that Russia's the aggressor, and Putin's going to try to take over all of Europe if we don't stop him here, which I think is a foolish argument. Okay, so on October 13th, Medvedev said if we give Tomahawk missiles, which Zelensky wants, that could hit heavily into Russia, that risks nuclear war. We're back to when we, under Biden, had those ATACMS missiles going in long range into Russia. We were very close to nuclear war at that time. And so this President Trump's telephone call, when Putin said he was not going to surrender control of Donetsk, which is part of this Donbas, well, Trump listened to it and said he would have a meeting. But then when Secretary of State Rubio met with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, Putin was still insisting that he wanted to get all of the Donetsk province and really most of the Donbas region, only 3/4 of which Russia now controls. Okay, so what my analysis was that Trump wants a ceasefire, wants to stop the war right away, but clearly Putin wants to have this area under his control, and Putin is not making claims that he wants to be an aggressor in general and won't go to Kyiv, and he's had limited demands. Okay, now if we don't listen to this, if we go ahead and supply the Tomahawk missiles, thinking that, Putin's going to come to the table because now we can strike deep into Russia and he's scared, forget it. Putin, I think, has come to the conclusion that he can win the war in Ukraine, and he may even have the conclusion that he can win the war against the United States because of his advanced weaponry. He's threatened this several times, and I take it seriously. So I think here the advantage and the argument that I conclude with is that Trump has got to understand that there's no way we're going to take this territory back from Putin without a nuclear war. And so therefore, the idea of stopping Putin is only going to happen through negotiation right now. Putin has the ability to go to Kyiv if he wants to. It may take time, but unless NATO and the United States and Ukraine are willing to up the weaponry and escalate the war to the brink of nuclear war, Putin's not going to be stopped. And so I'm saying that in a world where regional conflicts can rapidly lead to a nuclear tragedy, Trump is right to assume the role of peacemaker. So by extending the Abraham Accords in the Middle East, Trump envisions that a peace through prosperity offers the best solution to dampening regional conflicts by creating strong middle classes throughout the region. And Trump needs to advance similar thinking between Russia and Ukraine over Donbas if we're able to resolve a war that Trump correctly claims should never have been started in the first place. The kind of thing I would say is, what Witkoff is saying is surrender this territory to Putin because he's going to take it anyway. And in long term, these are Russian-speaking people. Well, of course, Zelensky hates this because Zelensky wants the war to continue, for the money to continue, and the graft to continue. But Trump can force the end game by simply not supplying Tomahawk missiles to Zelensky, not supplying advanced missiles, not advanced weaponry, cutting off funding to NATO. When the money stops, the war stops. When the weapons start, when the weapons stop, the war stops. And that's really the only end game here that it makes any sense at all in Ukraine and Russia and the Russia war. Chris, want to come on and say, give us your thoughts on this?
Well, as you know, the EU has been trying to keep this war going for a long time. We had warmongers here in the States. Interestingly enough, you also say that General Kellogg has been trying to push this. He, of course, as you know, has been a trusted advisor of the Trump administration for a little while. And during the Biden administration, his thoughts and opinions were very close to the future Trump campaign because he was in the America First think tank, which was filled with former Trump officials and those who were looking to restore Trump to the presidency in 2024. So he does, no matter what anybody says, he has Trump's ear.
Well, Wyckoff, yes, he does, but he's getting sidelined again. He wasn't involved in negotiating the summit, and clearly his advice on tomahawks was rejected. So I think Trump is seeing that. Well, my argument is that the only way to resolve this war is to make a deal with Putin, and that means conceding territory. I point out the war should never have been fought. That a quotation from this really long and good book, which is the Provoked, How Washington Started the New Cold War with Russia and the Catastrophe in Ukraine. It's by, I recommend it strongly, by Scott Horton, the director of the Libertarian Institute, which is, he writes, the current fear campaign against Russia and the American media is no different from the demonization of any of the U.S. government's enemies here and around the world. Virtually the same. The entire narrative is fake. But the older generation is used to hating Russia, and the young have been sold a line about Russian aggression through Europe for years now. There's also the harm done by the Russiagate hoax that claimed dastardly Putin influenced Donald Trump upon our land, which has seemingly forever damaged the brains of American Democrats and made peaceful coexistence for them unthinkable. Craig?
Well, as we're looking at here, it seems like there has to be some form of contention somewhere in the world. I guess to keep certain factions of the U.S. deep state relevant. Again, that's from the outside looking in, and well, this is pretty much their only hope since Donald Trump President Trump has been working on solving other problems around the world and not through forceful means. Of course, the threat of force is always a good thing. We still need to keep an eye on the situation in Gaza at this point. But right now, the Russia-Ukraine war, there are a lot of major leaders, major factions around the world that I hate to say, depend on this war going at least a little bit longer. And Putin, I mean, he's in a position where he doesn't care, right?
Well, NATO attacked again yesterday on Monday and Tuesday, these Russian oil refineries in NATO countries, right? Hungary and Romania, suddenly and simultaneously have mysterious explosions and catastrophic fires. Okay, and then the Wall Street Journal about the U.S. approval of NATO being allowed to use long-range missiles deep into Russia is fake, Trump said. The U.S. has nothing to do with those missiles, wherever they may come from or whatever Ukraine does with them. So I think there's great sensitivity right now with Trump understanding that a solution has to be reached here. And regardless of what NATO thinks, they're not getting the territory back. They can all group around Zelensky like they do. They don't have the money, they don't have the troops, and it wouldn't work short of nuclear war. Okay, so we also have an announcement now today that we've gone right through the interest payments of our debt, which now tops $38 trillion, is something like $1.4 trillion on interest payments. Let me just check that number again. But it is phenomenal how deeply we've let this national debt go and how thoroughly it means that we're indebting our, the future here is pretty well bankrupt, with the interest payments to hit 14 trillion over the next 10 years. And we just crossed the 37 trillion mark in August. Now we're crossing the $38 trillion in national debt. Okay, so the price of gold is back up again today. Gold is trading here at $4,132 an ounce, and silver at $49.51 an ounce. Again, I'm imploring you to go to Swiss America on our website, because you can get gold and silver offers. You get these Walking Liberty $50 offers, which Chris will show you. 250 of them as one-time offer, just getting to know Swiss America. And if you fill out the form, Swiss America will contact you. These are almost 100% silver. Silver is a lot less expensive than gold, $50 an ounce. You can accumulate silver if you can't afford gold. And you can buy grams of gold. You don't have to buy a whole ounce of gold. Your IRAs can be converted into self-directed IRAs, so you can hold gold in them, income tax deferred on appreciation. I'm imploring you also, I'm going to give you the 800 number so you get a copy of this free book, which I think is also something that you should read to understand the impact of the BRICS and where the economy is going. If you have better knowledge of this, you'll be better prepared to anticipate future developments. Okay, so the toll-free number is 1-800-519-6268. Write it down, 1-800-519-6268. Call Swiss America. Okay, finally, I want to point out that NATO is really thinking about putting new sanctions, and President Trump, on Russian oil to punish Russia. I think these are the wrong strategies. I think it's time to really try to come to terms with Russia. This will just push the oil price higher for everyone. And right now, people are going to suffer this winter. Some of the oil prices around the country are going to be shocking. It's going to be an abbreviated show today. I have a very, very busy day. In the end, God always wins. God is going to win here too. Please join me in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14. Let's get on our knees and ask God to forgive us for letting the world get to this point. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi, CorsiNation.com. We're doing podcasts every weekday. Thanks for joining us. God bless.